Yellowstone volcanic activity since the most recent gigantic eruption, and eruptions since then. And this is concerning the super eruptions. We know Yellowstone is one of the 21 some odd supervolcanoes of the world. It's considered to be one of the largest. Since the most recent giant caldera forming eruption about 631,000 years ago, this is according to USGS, approximately 80 relatively non-explosive eruptions have occurred. Of these eruptions, at least 27 were rhyolite lava flows in the caldera, 13 were rhyolite lava flows outside the caldera, and 40 were basalt vents outside the caldera. The most recent volcanic eruption at Yellowstone, a lava flow on the Pitchstone Plateau, happened around 70,000 years ago. Now, the last time it erupted, the most recent volcanic eruption, the rhyolite lava flows erupted about 70,000 years ago. The largest of these flows formed the Pitchstone Plateau, southwestern Yellowstone National Park. Is Yellowstone due for an eruption? And when will Yellowstone erupt? Yellowstone, from what the geologists are saying, is not overdue for an eruption. Volcanoes do not work in predictable ways, and their eruptions do not follow predictable schedules. Even so, the math does not work out for the volcano to be overdue for an eruption in terms of large explosions or super eruptions. Yellowstone has experienced three, 2.08 million years ago, 1.3 million years ago, and 631,000 years ago. So this comes out to an average of about 725,000 years between eruptions. That being the case, there is still about 100,000 years left to go, but this is based on the average of just two numbers, which is meaningless. Most volcanic systems that have a super eruption do not have them multiple times. When super eruptions do occur more than once in a volcanic system, they are not evenly spaced in time. Although another catastrophic eruption at Yellowstone is possible, scientists are not convinced that one will ever happen. The rhyolite magma chamber beneath Yellowstone is only 5 to 15% molten. The rest is solidified but still hot. So it's not clear if there is even enough magma beneath the caldera to feed an eruption. If Yellowstone does erupt again, it need not be a large eruption. The most recent volcanic eruption at Yellowstone was a lava flow that occurred 70,000 years ago. In the meantime, USGS has told us that Yellowstone is rising about 2 inches per year. Now, why are there so many earthquakes in Yellowstone is another question. We have about 3,000 earthquakes a year. Why are there so many? Almost all earthquakes at Yellowstone are brittle failure events caused when rocks break due to crustal stresses. Okay, the rocks are cracking and breaking because, as we said before, it's inflating about 2 inches a year. That's about 20 inches in a decade. So you can see it's almost 2 feet. And that's why, of course, the rocks crack. Though we've been looking, they said, at Yellowstone for years, no one has yet identified long period events, LP events. They're commonly attributed to magma movement. If LP events are observed, that will not mean Yellowstone is getting ready to erupt. LP earthquakes commonly occur at other volcanoes in the world, including volcanoes in California that have not erupted for centuries or millennia. One variety of ground shaking called tremor is observed at Yellowstone's geothermal areas whenever water boils in a geyser. The largest historic earthquake in the Rocky Mountains was a magnitude 7.3 earthquake at Hebgen Lake. That's in the Yellowstone supervolcano area. That happened in August of 1959. It was caused by the extension or stretching of the Earth's crust. The earthquake displaced a 40-kilometer long fault or 25-mile fault that rose vertically up to 40 feet. Shaking from earthquakes can also change the way that Yellowstone's hydrothermal systems behave. The interval between eruptions of Old Faithful Geyser increased significantly after the 1959 Hebgen Lake earthquake. Now, how do scientists know what's going on beneath the ground at Yellowstone? Of course, Yellowstone is being monitored for volcanic activity. Yellowstone Volcano Monitor for Science, Yellowstone Volcano Observatory, YVO, is in partnership between U.S. Geological Survey, USGS, Yellowstone National Park, the University of Utah, the University of Wyoming, UNAVCO, the Montana Bureau of Mines and Geology, the Idaho Geological Survey, and the Wyoming State Geological Survey. YVO closely monitors volcanic activity at Yellowstone and provides real-time data for earthquakes, ground deformation, stream flow, and selected stream temperatures. In addition, YVO scientists collaborate with scientists from around the world to study the Yellowstone supervolcano. And what type of eruption will Yellowstone have if it erupts again? And from what geologists are saying at USGS, the most likely explosive event to occur at Yellowstone is actually a hydrothermal explosion, a rock-hurtling geyser eruption or a lava flow. Hydrothermal explosions are very small. They occur in Yellowstone National Park every few years, and they form a crater every few meters across. Every few thousand years, a hydrothermal explosion will form a crater as much as a few hundred meters across, a few hundred feet across. Now, through the worst case scenarios for a giant Yellowstone eruption is indeed bad and could have global implications. Most past eruptions at Yellowstone were not highly explosive. Of the past 50 or so eruptions, almost all were simple lava flows. If they occurred tomorrow or next year, they would have minimal direct effect outside Yellowstone National Park. As for the worst case scenario, even previous Yellowstone super eruptions did not cause extinctions, and ash fallout on the other side of the continent was minimal. Yellowstone is routinely monitored for signs of volcanic activity, and these methods include using seismographs to detect earthquakes and using GPS, which is Global Positioning Systems, to detect ground motion. The USGS has not detected any signs of activity that suggest that a huge eruption or any type of eruption is imminent. And this is all from USGS, and I'll leave links below for you for this. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.